Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. I see some people are here from a time zone that is very late right now, so thank you all for joining. And a lot of familiar faces in the chat, that is wonderful. And I've been seeing a lot of people getting their stands this week, which is super exciting. It looks like they've been all shipped out and are making their way out to you. So that is fantastic. Let me pull up the comments here. Hello from Stuttgart. Nice red package arrived safely. Excellent. Yes, Friday was a very fun live stream. We did a joint live stream with John Barker from Here to Record, Photo Joseph, and Curtis Judd. And that was a lot of fun. That was using SRT, not our normal way of streaming, but it did work very well, I think. And it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for joining that one. It was kind of fun to have everybody split across the 4 channels. We broadcast it simultaneously to everybody's channel, which was also another another bit of engineering work on this end, making that happen using a server in my closet to do the restreaming, which was also a lot of fun. And yeah, so the plan for today, of course, is the plan for today is answering questions, chatting about the ATEM Mini, the ATEM Mini stand that I did, the Extreme stand, whatever you want to chat about. So, and thanks, Craig. I appreciate that. Also, Rick got his stand. Wonderful. Have had my ATEM Mini Pro stand for the past 2 weeks. Easy assembly and fits great on my workstation. Awesome. Very glad to hear it. All right. I saw a question up here at the beginning. Did I? Ah, no. That was a comment from Ike. Got the just assembled the PK1 stand in Germany. Excellent. I'm glad it wasn't too confusing. There was a lot more parts involved in the Extreme stand compared to the first one, just because it's so much bigger and we didn't want to ship long parts because that makes the shipping very expensive. So it ended up being a lot more things to assemble, but hopefully it wasn't too bad. And all credit for the instruction booklet goes to Inix3D. They did a great job doing that. That was not me at all. So yeah, awesome. Thanks to them for doing that. Fantastic design work. And I see John Barker is in the chat. Hello, good to see you here. Thanks for joining. Camille has a fun question. That's the one I saw at the beginning during the countdown timer. What new equipment from Blackmagic do you hope they bring to the market soon? I think I am going to stick firmly to my wish for them to update the rack mount 1U, 2U rack mount switchers. Those feel like they are a little bit out of date now that the Extreme has super source in it and has scalers on all 8 inputs, can record 8 channels. It's just such a good deal for what it is, and it makes the rack mount ones look a little bit old at this point. They don't have scalers, they don't have recorders built in. Let me switch to my computer screen. This is what I'm looking at, right? We've got the nice new Mini lineup here. This one I've had it for years, like probably 5 or 6 years at this point, and it's also showing its age. But then this lineup is just needs a little bit of love. There's a little bit of stuff missing from these devices. Of course, the 8K is fantastic, but even that doesn't have the scalers built in, I don't think. But it has tons of DVEs and upstream keyers and all that good stuff. But this is what I want to see. I want to see, first of all, replacement for the Studio HD. I would love to see the Extreme in this form factor, right? I don't need all the buttons on the Extreme, but I want all the features, and I want to be able to shove it into a rack, because the Extreme itself is great for when I'm using it on my desk here, but it's not great for necessarily traveling with kits, traveling kits. So, you know, it's fine. It lives here on my desk, but it's kind of large actually to put into a backpack even. And it makes it's a lot. I would love to be able to. I had a pretty good kit going with the Television Studio HD in a fly case, and I was using that on, out on gigs and stuff. And I just had to throw in a lot of extra hardware into the case in order to make it actually do things, because it took a lot of extra gear to do like a side-by-side layout, like even this, right? This is super source from the Extreme, which you don't have in most of the other ATEM switchers. And you can do this with a lot of external gear, and I was just shoving all that into the case and it worked, but I want to see that update. So that's where I'm at. I'm gonna hold out for that. And thanks for the question. All right. See some other questions popping in. Can you show us how to set up a restream server? Got curious about it since it was mentioned on last Friday's stream. Yeah, it's a bit involved. Let me think about whether I can quickly demonstrate something. I think I have a way to quickly demonstrate it, but I'm going to have to go and take out some stream keys before I show you the config, because I've got the stream keys from everybody's channels still loaded into the config, and I don't want to show those on the stream, obviously, even though hopefully they're not like actually active anymore. Hopefully Joseph and John and Curtis all deactivated those keys they gave me. Otherwise, I could just stream to their channel right now, which would be kind of fun. We could see what happened. Okay, so let me, what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna copy this into a new file so I can totally mess it up. That's how I'm gonna do this. So yes, then I can get rid of the things that I definitely don't want to show on the stream. That makes more sense. Okay. Yes. So what I'm gonna do is first skip past most of the setup, because I already have a video about most of it. So most of the work is actually done in, let me show you the video. The video I did about building the streaming bridge clone with a Raspberry Pi will get you most of the way to building a restreaming server. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, how to make a DIY streaming bridge. And let me drop a link to this in the chat, just so you have a link. DIY streaming bridge video. So this video is going to take you most of the way through setting up a streaming bridge. And the reason, or the restreamer, and the reason for that is because what this video does is basically sets up a Raspberry Pi. Oh wow, this is an old video. I have my table without the vinyl cover over it. It's the dark table. So this video walks through setting up the Raspberry Pi, installing Nginx, all that stuff. Let's see, configuring the OS, installing the software. It's where we do Nginx. And then here is where you start configuring it. And what we did here was we configured Nginx to output the video over HDMI. So somewhere in here, yes, this. So this line is what you do to have it so that when the Raspberry Pi receives a video stream, it will then output that video stream over the HDMI port, which is what you want with the streaming bridge. And however, there's a lot of other things you can do with this RTMP block. So go through this video, set all this up, but then just leave out that line, or leave it in, doesn't really matter. It's not gonna hurt anything. And then what you do is you set up the restreaming. And that's where I've got this config here, and this is where I blanked out all the stream keys. So you can see we've got the same like RTMP and make a server. And then let's see, ignore this one. This is what I was using for Friday. I made a new, it's called application, but that's basically like the first path. So the RTMP URL for this will be RTMP, whatever the IP address is, port 1936. And then in my case here for this 3 friends application, you would say 3 friends, and then there isn't a streaming key on this one, so it doesn't matter. That's what you would put into the ATEM, of course, with your real IP address of your device. And then it'll pop into here. So then in here, we're gonna now configure it to do, instead of output over HDMI, we're gonna do some other stuff with it. It's turning on live streaming. We don't need to record it. We're only gonna allow localhost to play it. And then we're gonna push it out to a bunch of other things. So here's one where I actually pushed it to a Raspberry Pi in my studio so that I could show it on my screen here. And that's the IP address of my Raspberry Pi here. And then here's where I pushed out to 3 different YouTube channels. Pushed it out to my channel. That was my real streaming key from YouTube. That was Curtis's real streaming key, and that was John's streaming key. So this is it. That's basically it. Like, there's not a lot to it. Once you've got all the setup in place from doing it with for setting up the streaming bridge version, you just sort of change these to push instead of that OMX player. And that's, that's really it. And you can just keep stacking these up as long as you have the bandwidth for it. I did have, we didn't quite get it to work in time. My experiment with this worked the night before, but what I wanted to do was also overlay a still image on Joseph's channel so that he was streaming to his main channel. And that was where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to push to a new application in this server, this add overlay application, which then this is a complicated FFmpeg command to basically overlay this still graphic over the stream it's receiving and then push it back out to, that was a real streaming key. I would tell Joseph to delete that. It's probably already gone. So that's what I was trying to do. And it worked in my test stream. And I actually have a stream on my YouTube unlisted that did actually work. And for some reason, the morning of the event, that didn't work. And we had to just go and Joseph streamed a second feed to his channel from his Epiphan. This was where I was also pushing the backup. So I made a new restreaming thing in here as well. So this was handling 2 inbound streams. I was also streaming from my ATEM to this backup application, which then also pushed out to the backup URLs for the 3 channels. So that was 2 incoming streams, 1 from Joseph, 1 from me, and then 3 outbound streams each. And it worked. It worked fine. Totally enough bandwidth for all of that, which was pretty cool. So that's sort of the short version. And again, most of the work of setting that up is already in a video that I did for the streaming bridge. Okay, that was fun. Let's see. And I am going to keep going in the chat. I am telling Joseph to delete this streaming key. Okay. What are we doing? Tell me more about the backup stream in YouTube. Yeah, okay. So the questions about the backup streams, yes, from Hans and Petra. Can you automatically, so I understand it takes over if a stream dies, but can you automatically push it to the primary stream when it's back up? Yeah, so everything about what I've found when experimenting with this is the backup stream, YouTube is picky about, like, it wants you to be pushing basically the same video to the backup stream, at least the same frame rate and resolution. However, in my experience, it doesn't actually require it. It'll give you a big warning saying that the bitrate doesn't match, but it's actually fine. And because the ATEM is at is a variable bitrate, you're unlikely to actually match the bitrates unless you are streaming the exact same content from the same device. But it's fine. That I haven't had any problems with that. It is able to switch over. Resolution, I don't think it would be happy with, but if you have the same resolution, different bitrates, it's fine. If the primary stream fails, it will automatically fall over to the backup feed. And the backup feed will then, it'll just be showing the backup stream. And in my experience, it does not take over the primary stream. If the primary stream comes back, it does not fall back to the primary stream. I've heard conflicting reports of this, but I've tried this a couple of times now. And you have to stop the backup stream once the primary stream is back online, and then it will fall back to the primary, which is a little bit unfortunate because you don't actually get to see in the dashboard which stream is active. You kind of just have to know from your encoder which one is active. So the you have to be looking at your 2 encoders and then see that your primary has established a connection again, and then drop the backup stream, and then it fails back. And I have tested that several times. I am tempted to do it right now live because it's kind of fun to show how it works. But maybe I'll do that towards later in the session today. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions about this before we move on to other topics. And again, if you do have a question for me, make sure you mention my full name at Aaron Parecki, and then it highlights it. Otherwise, I'm assuming people are talking to each other in the chat. So, okay, yeah, I'm looking for questions about streaming, the backup stream stuff. What was the total bandwidth? The total bandwidth was, I was sending basically 6 megabits per YouTube channel. So I had 6 times 6. It was 36 megabits. And I did actually look at my router stats during the stream, and it did match. It did match that. So this is my router stats, and it was showing me my uplink, which right now is 6 megabits. It's kind of small. I don't know if I can zoom in. Kind of. No, not really. There we go. So right now it is streaming 6 megabits, which is my YouTube stream, and this was showing me 36 megabits because that I was pushing up 6 copies of that feed, which was it worked great. It was fun. And I have a gigabit here, and I get pretty close to a gigabit up actually. So it was not a problem at all. I was not worried. And everything's on a backup battery now. So the desk has a battery backup, and my network closet has a battery backup. So I should be able to run for at least like 20 minutes, 30 minutes if the power cuts out. And that's why I did everything from here. At some point, I'm going to try to do this all again, but do it all in cloud servers, because then it's probably even more stable and less likely to just randomly fail from power issues when the weather's bad here. But that's a different topic. Same idea though. It'll be like set up a restream server in the cloud, add all the configs. Kind of fun. Cool. Okay, let me switch. I forgot to enable my super chat confetti, and I see that Petra just sent a super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Starbucks on the house. I'm gonna get some fancier coffee with that from the coffee shop just down the street. Thanks. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna look for more questions about the RTMP stuff, and then we'll move on to the rest of the questions. I just like to have the timestamps in here like segmented so you can actually find content again later. So, okay, in your opinion, is the Epiphan Pearl a better option to the streaming bridge? I will say, again, we kind of touched on this during the stream on Friday, but I think it is, I think they are very different, and they actually both have a good place, a useful place. So the Pearl is very specifically purpose-built for what it's doing, which is integrating with CMSs for classes so that you can schedule recordings. It's got an SDI input for cameras that you might find in a classroom or corporate environment. It's got, thank you for the super chat. There we go with the confetti. I appreciate it. So yeah, the Pearl is, it's got a lot of features, a lot more features than even the ATEM Mini does if you need those features. But then it's also not a switcher. So like I said last week, it's something that I would feel comfortable like shipping out to a remote site where it's going to be in somebody's home office, and I don't want them to have to worry about how it works, right? Because it can be completely remote controlled over a web interface, and it's for that. With the streaming bridge, you can get the same effect like we did the 2 shows, right? Where we've got remote contributors coming in, one with the streaming bridge, one show with the Pearls. But with the streaming bridge, it's kind of the other way around. The streaming bridge is at the destination site, whereas the Pearl is at the transmitting site. And on the transmitting site, you would then need to have them have an ATEM Mini Pro. And you definitely can configure an ATEM Mini Pro to be pretty easy to use for someone who's not familiar with video gear. However, it's still, it's more fragile and it's a little bit harder to, it requires more pieces in order to make it work well for that kind of totally remote hands-off setting. So, of course, the benefit is they would be able to do multiple camera switching on their remote end. So if that is something that you expect them to be doing and be like more familiar with doing video work, that might be the better option. But if you're just like, I need a camera and maybe presenters, slides, streaming from a remote place into my studio, the Preroll might be the better way to go, just because it's much more hands-off from the hosts or from the guests' perspective. So hopefully that gives you some things to think about. It's not a clear cut which one is better for sure. Same with this, actually. So Preroll Nano versus YOLO box, two totally different things, totally different uses. And I don't think there's any situation in which I would say that these are comparable, really, because the Preroll Nano, again, is very much for the corporate environment, remote workflow, educational space, whereas the YOLO box is for live streaming, 2 cameras. You can even show YouTube comments built into that, which is just a whole different kind of device. Cool. Okay. What else? I think that's about it for that topic. Great. Let me scroll back up and see what we've got for other questions. Okay, this is actually kind of similar. If I send a, super chat again, thank you. Is that a mistake in my, it is a mistake in my code. Thank you for the super chat, I appreciate it. Okay, question about if I send a Mini Pro, a GH4 to a client, pre-configured with a streaming bridge setup, yep. Is there a way to control the stream quality without the ATEM controller on the remote end? There aren't any buttons that let you change that, so you'd have to have something that can send commands to that ATEM. So if you also sent them a Raspberry Pi and a Stream Deck, you could get them Stream Deck buttons. If you sent them a Raspberry Pi that was configured to VPN into your network, that would also work, where it could then VPN and you'd be able to remote control the ATEM. That takes a bit of networking setup, but it is totally doable. That way you would ship them a kit with the Mini Pro GH4 and a Raspberry Pi, hopefully all in a box already wired up. And as soon as they connected the Raspberry Pi to the internet, it would then be able to dial into your VPN in your studio, and you could go talk to the ATEM from your software control interface. And I have that set up between my 2 locations where I can, from either end, just sort of act like everything is in one network because I've got the VPN set up to do that. It seems that the Preroll series lacks macros, audio effects, and USB webcam output to a computer. Correct. It is not really trying to compete with the ATEM switcher. It is not a switcher. It is not that kind of device. It is an encoder with a lot of automation features for being an encoder. And it happens to be able to do some picture-in-picture layouts with the 2 inputs that it does have, but it's not like the Nano, at least, doesn't really have any switching abilities. So you're not really going to be using it as a switcher. You're going to be using it as an encoder to get a remote video feed to some other location, whether that's YouTube or a studio. And yeah. Oh, this is a fun question. Do you think Blackmagic dropped the Mini Pro price because they're coming out with something in between the Mini line and the Extreme line, 4 inputs with Super Source? That is a thought. I personally think they're done with the Mini line. I think that there's enough variations of the Mini product now that they should probably not keep going with more variations of that. I think they probably dropped it because whatever else they launch next, like the One U, for example, replace them for the TV Studio HD or the 1ME or 2ME, I think the prices of those might make the Mini Pro look too expensive, which is why they would drop the Mini Pro and the Mini ISO. I really don't see them coming out with something again in the Mini line. But again, I could be wrong because I didn't really expect them to do a Mini Extreme. Nobody really saw the Mini ISO coming in the first place, so yeah. Who knows? Oh, yeah, I forgot I wrote this article. Thank you for that, Roland. Back on the VPN topic, I was thinking about doing a video about this, and sometimes especially when it's a really complicated thing like this, before I do a video, I will at least write out all the instructions, and doing that helps me gather my thoughts and help me make a good tutorial or outline for the video. And that is the state of this VPN situation. So I'll share this link in the chat. Remote VPN setup tutorial. So there's that. And that is what we're looking at here. This is what you have in the studio. Make that bigger. This is what you get in the studio. You have a ATEM Mini, the VPN server, and then the streaming bridge. And on the remote end, you have a ATEM Mini Pro, a camera, and a Raspberry Pi. And this blog post goes through step by step how to set everything up. I've got little diagrams in here. I use the travel router as a VPN server because it is super easy to set up a VPN server that way. And then on the other side, we unfortunately had to use a Raspberry Pi, blah, 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 blah. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Raspberry Pi for the VPN client because we had to do some special routing that I couldn't figure out how to get to work in the travel router. So this is a lot. You can see how long this is. It just keeps going and going and going. But eventually you get to the end and you are able to connect the software control to the remote ATEM Mini. And it's great. So that's the tutorial. I'll again, that link is in the chat. So I am hoping to turn that into a video, but as you can tell, it's quite involved, but at least there's written instructions right now. Okay. The 8K does have scalers. Oh, good. Thank you, John. I do not have one, and I probably will never get to try one because it is very, very expensive. But if the 8K has scalers, the Constellation 8K, then that means it is very likely that whatever replaces the ones below it will also have scalers. So that's good. Fully agree. We're running 2ME Production Studio, and I would love to see Constellations and Mini features. Absolutely agreed. Once the mid-tier Blackmagics are updated, don't you think the Constellation will become undesirable for most applications? Perhaps they need to sell a few more Constellations first. I don't know if I do because, I mean, one, it's 8K, which is probably going to be their only 8K thing. And if you're not using it for 8K, which very few people would be, it's still a very powerful 4K switcher. And if you need that many 4K things for live stuff, I think that's great. I guess the big question is whether the new mid-tier stuff does 4K or not. But yeah, I don't know. Hard to tell. I am not up in all their business. Oh, this is a fun one. Looks like I'm gonna need to rack mount my Extreme vertically with cables coming out the top. That's super bizarre. Nope, I do not have any idea how that might work, and I think that is too much of an edge case to design a rack mount for personally. Okay, fun. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it, Boris. Thank you for your invaluable help. Appreciate it. You are quite welcome. Cool. Okay. I see some comments about what I just was talking about. The Television Studio Pro 4K does have scalers on all the inputs too. Cool. That must be the Pro 4K. Right. Okay. So yeah, again, notice the theme here. All the ones with the dark style are the ones that are like updated with the cool features, except for that one. But none of the rack mounts have that. So I think we're going to see this rack mount tier next. 4K is mostly used for events with 4K projectors. Yes. Yes. Okay. I'm just going back up. Where was I? how do you make video maps from the intro? I don't know if I definitely haven't done a tutorial on it because it's super custom code basically, but like, it's using the YouTube API, which is the reason that I haven't released it. The reason that I released this Chrome plugin for doing comments like this is because it does not use the YouTube API. It just restyles your browser. So I don't have to worry about API keys or rate limits or anything. The problem with the map is that it does use the API because I need to get the actual text of the comment in to be able to process it better and do more things with it. And it's it uses the YouTube API to pull out the comments, and then it runs through like a geocoder to geocode the text that you type in. It takes I can't run it as a service because I don't want to deal with Google's rate limits and things I have to do to get approved as like an actual application. And then getting other people to drop in API keys and stuff is a lot of work, and it's very complicated. And also running that application yourself is not trivial. So that's the reason I haven't published it anywhere yet. It's just too complicated to get set up. I think I did actually, though, publish the code on my GitHub if you do want to try it out. I cannot promise it's easy to use. I did, yeah. I'll drop the link here. I can't promise this is easy to use. Let's see, commenter map. So here is the link. And yeah, it is possible to get it running. It does have instructions of how to get API keys. Oh, thanks, Christian, while waiting for your YouTube membership. I'll talk about that in a minute too. Thanks for the super chat. So yeah, this is the code, and it does have instructions of like what you have to do, how to get your Google API keys, which is the complicated part, how to run it. But it's not super easy to use yet, and I'm not planning on running it as a service because of the rate limiting issues. So yeah, if John wants to add this to H2R graphics, go ahead. Like, I know that H2R graphics does have the API key stuff built into it, so you can, like, it pulls comments from the API, so it wouldn't take that much more work to basically do what I've done for the map display in H2R graphics. The code's available. It's mostly JavaScript, so go for it, John, if you need more features to put into H2R. Yeah, okay. Thinking about it, he says, great. That would be much better than me trying to release this application. But I will also say there is also another way to do it, which is I haven't tried the latest update to this app, but where's the link to it? It is called. Okay, here's an app that somebody else has been working on based on. Oh, that's not the right one. Gosh. Where is the link? Oh my gosh. No, okay. I'm gonna have to find the link to this again, but I did a demo of this a couple weeks ago on the live stream. It's a Mac app that does basically the same thing. It works very differently and it looks a little bit different, but it's that one with the 3D globe. And that one is in the App Store right now, and you can use it. And he's done a bunch of good updates to it recently, actually, and I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. But let me see if I can find the link to it. Yeah, not sure if I can find that offhand. I probably linked to it in the video I did about it on my YouTube. If I can even find that one. It was a couple weeks ago. I used it a couple times. So yeah, I'll be checking that one out again at some point soon. And that one is another good way to do it. It is basically I found the video. This is what it looks like. So it does, although this is now 2 months ago, so it probably looks a little bit different, but This is what it... Oh, thanks for the super chat, Swag Magazine. I appreciate it. This is what it looks like on YouTube, where it brings in the viewers. Oh yeah, this is the one where I messed up. I hit the wrong button. So there might be a link here to it. Is it in this video? Nope, I was bad. I did not link to the application here. Darn. Okay. Anyway, those are the two ways I would recommend it. I'm probably not going to release my application. I don't want to take all the ideas. Okay. Let me go back up. Oh, did you check the chat fork of Steve? I haven't looked into it yet. This is a fork of the Chrome plugin I did that now I don't remember what it does differently. It's meant for OBS instead of the ATEM, but I did not look into what it does differently. What is going on with your web presenter? Good question. I'm getting a new one sent to me. I don't know what was wrong with the one I had. It had some very bizarre problems, and I ended up sending it back to them. They're going to take a look at it. They're sending me a new one, so I should be getting that hopefully soon. I think it probably sent out last week. I'm looking forward to trying it out again because it was a cool little device. Okay. Oh, yes. Speaking of Blackmagic, oops, that was the wrong one. Chris, I'll just talk about this while it's on the screen. This is the one problem with my chat extension is that as I'm about to click something, if someone posts something, it'll like scroll and then I click the wrong thing. Oh, John dug up the link for the app. Thank you. Let me copy that link and drop it into the video description so I don't forget. So this is the link. Well, I guess you can see it in there in the chat. It's not full link on the screen, obviously, but the app is called I'm From, and it is on the Mac App Store. It is currently available, but I will have I will do a better like demo of it eventually. So if you want to check it out now, you can. But yeah, thanks for digging that up, John. It was in the video description of the video from a few months back too. Cool. I'm glad I didn't completely forget to link it. Okay, yeah, back on the Blackmagic. Have you updated the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro with a new firmware for your LUT problem? I did, and it fixed it. So I did install the latest update to the 6K Pro, and sure enough, as soon as I updated, I was able to install the LUT that I did. Now, unfortunately, I only tried installing the Pocket 4K LUT onto that, and it does not look the same at all. So I have to actually go back and redo the LUT for the 6K Pro, which it makes sense. It's a different sensor. So it doesn't look good right now, and I haven't spent the time to fix that LUT yet, but I will be doing that, and then I can actually give that one a proper test. And it's good timing too, because I have to send my Pocket 4K back because the stupid screen broke with the half of it is just random colors. It's not the video anymore. It's just the LCD. The camera works fine. The video out is still fine, but the screen itself is super broken. So I have to send that back, and I won't have it for that table for a while. So at least I will be able to, I'll be able to still film there with the 6K Pro. And then I'll be able to give it a good solid test too because of that. Okay, there was something else I saw about Blackmagic cameras while I'm on that topic. Was there? No, I don't see it. Okay. It's not the sensor. The LUTs are the same. It's the new Gen 5 color science. Oh, cool. Okay, thanks. Yeah. I'm still very new to the Blackmagic cameras. I haven't used them very much at all. I've got the Pocket 4K. It's doing cool, but yeah, I'm not very familiar with the whole lineup. All right, there was what else was I going to talk about here? The, oh yeah. Why don't we go over to the table and I can show you some stuff that I've got set up over there actually, which is on a totally different topic, but it'll be fun. So yeah, I'll be over there in a second. So yes, you can still hear me. This is the Pocket 4K. This is the one with the broken screen, but the camera still works fine, as you can see. And what I've got over here is I wanted to try out a couple of other cameras. So I keep talking about GoPros, about how I don't like them very much, and I want to show you why. So I've got my GoPro connected here. I hope the battery, God, I didn't even think about that. It's on battery power, so looks like it's doing fine. I'm going to switch to, which one is the GoPro in? 4. So this is a shot from the GoPro. And first of all, it's at the super wide mode, which is fine. You can narrow it down if you want so you get less curvy edges. But this is the GoPro. And you might notice that the colors are very, very different. And of course, it's not going to be the same color quality as a Pocket 4K cinema camera, but still, it's pretty dramatic. And I'm also actually noticing as I'm doing this, in this angle, my ATEM encoder has just shot up to 14 megabits a second instead of the normal 6. And I think it's because of all the noise in the picture. So if you look, especially in like the dark places or places with gradients, you'll see there's a lot of noise there. And I think that's causing the encoder to have to work extra hard to compensate for that. So yes, this picture is fine, but it's definitely not the same as a real camera with a real lens and good colors, right? So that's kind of what I mean when I talk about, like, I don't really recommend GoPros for live streaming because, again, this is the GoPro Hero 7. So the Hero 7 is old. It's old. They're up to 9 now, but it's still fine, and I don't think it's actually changed that much comparatively. Oh, the audio is a bit less than previous, but still understandable. Is that let me see what I did to the audio. I'm on the wrong ATEM. The audio switched over to a different microphone over here. I do have a compressor on it. I thought I did a sound check earlier and it sounded fine. I can just give it a little bit extra gain here. All right, how's that? So yeah, GoPro isn't a real camera with a real lens. No, it's not. So the yeah, it's a totally different microphone, but it's fine. The reason I don't recommend GoPros, they're like $400, right? And most of what the GoPro does is not be a still camera on a desk. Most of what the GoPro does, like most of the features, and the reason it costs so much is because it's waterproof and it has great stabilization and it's an outdoor camera, and using it in a studio in a fixed position is kind of a waste of all of its features. So that's the reason I don't really recommend it as a studio camera. And it also, I don't know, it just doesn't look as good in my opinion. So, okay, back to the real camera. But I wanted to try something else, which is a much, much cheaper version of a small studio camera. And brace yourselves, this is not going to blow you away in the image quality department, but let me explain what's going on. This camera is $90, and it is something that I got on Amazon, and that means that like the listing already changed. It's already not available under the product I bought it under. But this is what it looks like. And is that going to focus? Yeah, this is what it looks like. It's just a little tiny camera with SDI on the back. So the SDI on the back means I can run it into my video switcher matrix thing. And this is not a good camera, but it's very cheap. And I would probably recommend this over a GoPro for if you're looking for a studio camera that is like wide angle and you don't want to like spend $600. But again, the GoPro is like $400 anyway, so it doesn't really seem worth it. Neither of these I would recommend as a main camera. And yeah, Chris says, I use my old GoPro Hero 4 as a top view to show parts on the desk. It works well, but wouldn't use it as a main camera. I agree. I would not use this as a main camera. I would not use this as a main camera. But they do make good secondary cameras, not like I'm using it right now, but for top-down shots or side shots or whatever, behind the scenes kind of thing. Like, this almost looks like behind the scenes, but this camera is actually right on top of the teleprompter. It's not even like, it looks like it's way high up, but it's not. Yeah, $250 for the GoPro Black or GoPro 7, which I think I linked that down below. The GoPro 8 is much more improved in resolution and sound quality. The 7 isn't even close to the 8. Cool, okay. That's good to know. I still don't trust it. I don't think it's going to be that much better at the end of the day. Yeah, but then this one, $90, SDI out, 12 volt power. You could definitely use this as a top-down or behind the scenes camera or a drum camera or something and get a good enough picture. It also has a ton of controls, like image controls on it, and I spent a while trying to tweak the colors. It's not, I didn't get it to match great, but it's decent color compared to how it looked out of the box. And yeah, you can change the exposure. So let me actually just show you what that looks like. There's a button on the back to bring up the menu. And it looks like it is a little bit overexposed right now. So I can just go ahead and dial this back down a bit. And you can do auto shutter or or fixed shutter. We've got color adjustments as well. So you can do like, let's see, I fixed the white balance here, but I can change the white balance. You only get 3 settings, 5,000, 3,000, or 8,000. And then you can change the red and the blue. You also might notice it's like slow to adjust when I change the values. But here, if I turn down the red, you can see it changes. Or if I go a little bit more, it changes. It looked best to me around here. So that's where I'm going to leave it. But you do get quite a bit of control on here, which is kind of cool. It's meant to be like a security camera, I guess. But it's something. The link for this is in the description below. It's called the Mini SDI Camera. The only trouble with the link that I put in there is it's actually a link to the link that I bought this camera from is gone on Amazon, because this is what Amazon does with, or this is what Amazon sellers do with their products. They're super cheap. But I found one that looks exactly the same, so I think it's just a different branding of the same hardware. So that's the one that's linked down below. They also have a model of this as this is a wide angle lens, and they also have a model of this which is a telephoto lens. So if you are interested in that, that is available too. So yeah. Oh, didn't you have a Sony RX0 Mark II? I did, and I unfortunately did not think about bringing it today, so I don't have it here, but I do want to actually compare that now against the GoPro and this little thing as well. So maybe I'll do that next week. The Sony RX0 is a cool camera. It's got its own trade-offs, and but I think I might bring it back into the studio, because if I do really want to have like a new side camera, it's something I could just leave here, because I was using it when I was like traveling, but I'm not going anywhere anymore, so might as well install it here. Yeah, pretty surprising to see SDI for $90. Yes. You are correct. I am not blown away. Yes, it is not fantastic. 7 is the last model with built-in HDMI. Wait, GoPro 7? What does the GoPro 8 have? I have the GoPro 7's the last one I bought. If the GoPro 8 and 9 don't have HDMI, what do they have? I don't understand. Is the lens removable? No, it is not. It is not. USB-C on the GoPro. Oh, you have to have like a dongle. Media attachment for the 8. Well, there you go. You have to start spending a lot of money to turn it into a studio camera because it's not a studio camera. It is a outdoor action camera. So you have to get the media mod. Yeah, see, I'm getting less and less sold that it's a good studio camera. It's good for outdoors, fine, but yeah. Tommy Calloway says we should spend as much on lights as on cameras and accessories. I say we should spend as much on our camera as on our switcher. Yes. Sure. If you have a $1,000 switcher, get a $1,000 camera. That seems appropriate. If you're using an ATEM Mini, $300, then get a $300 GoPro. No, don't do that. Hello, good to see you here. Thank you for joining. What about the DJI Osmo Pocket 2? I haven't got the Pocket 2 yet. It looks, from all the reviews I've read about it, it seems like it's a pretty solid upgrade to the Pocket 1, the original Pocket, which I do have and I love, even though it has several problems and I can't really use it in a studio because it doesn't have HDMI out. But the Pocket 2 looks like they fixed a bunch of stuff that was annoying to me about the original one. But also, like, it's not so much better that I'm excited to upgrade mine. So I also, if I'm not going anywhere, I don't really have any reason to have the Pocket 2. So we'll see. If I start traveling much again, maybe I will get the Pocket 2, or maybe I will just get the Pocket 3 whenever they do that, because I won't be traveling until that comes out. We will see. We will see. Needs an extra cage with HDMI in it. Okay, that's annoying. GoPro can be good for behind the scenes feed with a wide lens. This is what I'm saying. I actually do think that you are probably better off with this angle, this kind of camera, which is a SDI. There's HDMI versions too, but for behind the scenes, you probably want a long cable. SDI built in, no converter. It's 12 volt power, so you can plug it into the wall. You don't have to worry about batteries or converters. And I think this would make a better behind the scenes camera than the GoPro, because the GoPro is, it's just gonna be more fiddly. Like, you're gonna have to go and press the button to turn it on, or make sure that you have a USB-C power plugged in and stuff. So even though this doesn't look fantastic, I think it doesn't look that much worse than the GoPro, because I don't think the GoPro looks fantastic either. So yeah. Yeah, they had a rough time. This is about the Pocket 2. They had a rough time to announce it during the pandemic. That was a terrible timing on their part, but I guess probably made more sense to launch it than not launch it for whatever reason. But I do feel bad for that. Okay. This camera has only HD SDI, means only 1080 30. Oh, yep. Fair point. Fair point. That's why it's $90. But hey, what do you expect for $90? Yeah, the link for that camera is down below. The workflow stuff is so important. Again, yeah, it's because if you actually try to mount a GoPro in a permanent position and use it every day, you are going to be very frustrated by it very quickly. That's also why I got one of these little SDI cameras. It was even cheaper for my printer camera, which is sitting down there, and I can just watch the printer print remotely. Okay, this has been on my desk, and I've now shown it in a couple of shots. Is this the Extreme Decksaver cover? It is. I posted this on my Instagram this morning, but this is the cover for the ATEM Mini Extreme Decksaver cover, and it is very, very cool, just like the original one. And this is a pre-production unit, so, but it is done, it is working, and I don't have my Extreme in here, obviously, because it's on my desk, but I did, I kind of had to cross my fingers and hope that the stand design would match whatever cover they did, because I didn't have one to measure against like I did on the original one. I actually, on the original one, had the Decksaver cover. I designed my stand to make sure that the Decksaver would fit on top. And this one, I did not have it when I was designing the stand, so I had to kind of just guess and hope, and it turns out it is fine. It totally worked, so that is excellent. And this is coming out, I think they said late May or early June, so they don't have a release date yet, but it is very soon, and as you can see, it is actually here, and it is real, and yes, definitely going to highly recommend this. So thanks to Decksaver for sending this out. They also said that they would send me one to give away, so I'm going to have to come up with a new plan for a giveaway, and I might try to do something where it's a bit of a treasure hunt again, because that was pretty fun, of trying to find the hidden clues in a series of videos. So keep an eye out for that. When I do launch that giveaway, I will of course talk about it during a live stream, but also email out on my mailing list. So go sign up for that. The link to that is also down below. It's on my website, aaronpk.tv. Yes, that will be late May, early June is what they are currently saying. They do make fine stuff. It is, it's very nice, very solid cover. Oh, Michael, this is an excellent point. You could apply a LUT if you want to correct that camera using the SDI converter. That is right. The SDI converters can hold LUTs and pass back throughout over SDI. That is a good thing for me to try. I should try to do that. That is an excellent, excellent point. Okay, any idea how to make 1080p 60 from 30, streaming 30, so multi-view outputs that too, but most monitors do not support that. Oh, okay, there are converters actually, and I've had mixed luck with them. Some monitors don't support 30 hertz signal, which is very annoying. Some of them do, so you could always just look for a monitor that can handle a 30 frames per second input. Unfortunately, so my monitors over there at the desk, oh, I can show you my wide shot now. Those two monitors are the 24-inch Dells. Those do support 30 frames per second. So I can switch like that multi-view on the left. My GoPro battery just died. This is why I like the wired camera, because the battery won't die because it's plugged in. And yeah, anyway, the monitor does support 30. It is looking at, it's directly connected to my multi-view out. This monitor on my desk, however, is a 27-inch Dell, which was very cheap, and it does not support it, which is very annoying. So behind this, I have the Decimator converter, which is not cheap. It is $300, but it is super solid. It will do anything, and that works great. So if you don't have this converter, let's see, Decimator, this one, Decimator MD-HX. That is a fantastic device, and it will scale anything to anything and convert HDMI to SDI. I tried a cheaper one, which was HDMI only, and it was basically meant to just convert stuff to 60 frames per second. And it worked, but it shifted the colors. And it seems to me that same like legal versus full range issue of it was blowing out the whites, and it was blowing it out so much that the light colored stuff on my computer screen became indistinguishable. So like the very light gray stuff would look white, and then I couldn't see lines on the screen, which was very annoying. And I returned it. And I was like, fine, I'm just going to stick to the expensive Decimator, which I already had anyway. And that works great. Okay. What else can I talk about here? Why do you have two Apple Watches on your hands? Neither of them were Apple Watches, and they are two different kinds of watches that are both look very similar to the Apple Watch. This one is the Fitbit, and I have the nice Star Trek faceplate on it, or watch face on it. And the Fitbit, it's nice. Battery doesn't last forever. This one is a new one. This one is the Wise watch, and I've got my cat on there. You can load photos onto it, which is pretty fun. And I am testing them out because I am not super pleased with the Fitbit watch and looking for something else. And the Wise watch is like $20. So I wanted to see how much am I annoyed about the lack of whatever Fitbit features Wise doesn't have. And so I'm just wearing two watches for a while. That is That is all. Okay. Yes, my kitty is very, very sweet. The LUT doesn't work correctly in the microconverter 3G at the moment. That's too bad. Okay. I haven't actually tried one yet. Ooh, this is interesting. New aftermarket mod for interchangeable lens on the RX0. I'll have to take a look at that. That sounds cool. That sounds like a great way to get better lenses onto that. I'm sure that destroys the warranty, though, because that thing is also waterproof and very one piece. If it doesn't destroy the warranty, I'm even more interested in it. Which cameras support long record times could you recommend? If you find... So any video camera will support infinite record times, but you don't get the interchangeable lens usually with video camera style like camcorders unless you spend lots and lots and lots of money. But I'm a big fan of the Lumix stuff because they don't have the record limits on, I think, any of them. The GH5 and 5S are fantastic cameras. The Lumix G7 is what I use for my live streaming camera over there. It's not the greatest camera in the world, but it is very cheap and it still looks very good. I think the Canon stuff tends to have the record limits unless you spend a lot. And what else? Oh, the Sony cameras. There's a lot of good Sony cameras too, without the record limit. Are you actually going to do a review when you're done with your experiment on the Wise Watch? Probably not, no. This is just for me. I'm not going to get into the consumer tech world on YouTube. That sounds not pleasant. Okay, what else? Oh, this is a good question. Will your retainer clips fit with the Decksaver? No, they are one or the other. Because the clips hold down the ATEM itself, they don't hold down the Decksaver cover. They will not work. And I think that's okay. Like, I don't think it really... I think it doesn't make sense. I don't think you need to use them at the same time. So if you're using the clips, it's because you're like doing a fixed installation with it. But if you're using the Decksaver, it's because you want to stop your cat from stepping on the buttons or whatever it is. If you do have a use for a cover, like a cover that would also work with the clips, let me know, because that would be interesting to know about if there are uses that I am not thinking of where that would make sense. You probably know, but record limits are due to import duty fees. Yes, this is the silliest thing in the world. The record limit has nothing to do with the technology. It is all because of taxes. It's ridiculous. Anyway, yes, I did know that, but thanks for pointing it out again. GoPro Hero 9 can work as long with the charger and the sound is good with a media mod and HDMI, but the true price will be high comparing to other options. Yes, that's what I'm saying, is that at the point that you have to buy the media mod, buy all the extra stuff for it, you are spending probably $600 at least, at which point you're probably better off getting a real camera. Oh, hey, Tommy, thanks for joining. I did more scripting. Got to my magic comment button will close OBS, update the config, and reopen it with new YouTube comments URL loaded before resizing the window. More to come. Wow. So Tommy's been working on this cool thing to make it so that to kind of like automate setting up the YouTube comments and the whole stream with the Stream Deck connected to the computer. A lot of scripting involved and cool hacks going on there. So I think he said he's working on a video. I don't know when it's coming out, hopefully very soon. But super cool stuff. I'm looking forward to watching that. He gave me a little demo the other day, and it would save me a lot of time because right now when I have to go set up for the stream, I have to like carefully position the window manually, and this would just be one button and it's all set. So that's pretty cool. Also got to switch back to the main camera after video is finished. Oh, cool. So yeah, he's also working on not just setting up the comment thing, but like video playback from a computer into the ATEM, which is also very cool automation. So you can share video clips from a computer into the ATEM without a lot of manual work. Very cool stuff. So keep an eye on his channel for that. Looks like we are at the hour mark. Let me see if there's any other questions I can grab before we wrap this up. Is there... We talked about that. Let's see. I have a gig where I have to get Zoom meet participants, choosing them to send to input to ATEM. I can't get individuals on full second screen. So if you want multiple Zoom participants in multiple inputs, you'll need multiple Zoom clients also in the meeting so that you can full screen on like individual participants. So it's going to take a lot of computers basically. And if you do the put Zoom into full screen mode, there's like a special mode in Zoom to switch into like a special mode for a second screen as well. Then you can pin a guest in that window and it will look good. And you just will need multiple computers in order to do that well. Can you tell me how much better the Extreme is? Yes, I do have a video about the Extreme, which I think I'm going to point you to. So take a look at my channel for the video when the Extreme first came out, because that's where I talked about all the cool stuff in the Extreme. It has got a lot of stuff in it compared to the original Mini. And you can do so much more stuff with it. It's very cool. Can I use DisplayPort from the iMac for the ATEM video? I don't think so. I don't think so, unless you have like a real converter to go from that to HDMI. Roland says it's about 18,000% better. I agree with that assessment. I've done similar with Companion and vMix to do video playout. Totally, yeah. But then you have to have vMix, and what Tommy's doing uses OBS, which is free. So that's cool. Oh, Michael says you can run multiple Zoom instances on one machine, but it can get messy, and you need to be careful to route audio. That does sound messy. That sounds very messy. Oh, please don't forget to show us the backup stream switchover in YouTube before you finish. Great point. Great point. That's a great way to wrap this up. Okay. Let me think. How am I going to do this? So I've got... Oh, I can do it while I'm here at this table. So what you're looking at right now is my ATEM Mini that's on this table. This is where my camera's plugged into this Mini. This HDMI out of this Mini is plugged into the Extreme over there. And that Extreme is just set to this input, which is why you're seeing it. So the Extreme is the one doing the encoding right now. And the Extreme... so if I can touch the button on my ATEM Mini Pro on the desk here and switch it into multi-view, and now you see the multi-view of the ATEM. So I'm gonna switch back into program so that you see that. Oh, Philip, thanks for the super chat. Joined late because I just got finished with work, but wanted to drop in to say hi and thanks for all you do. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. You'll have to scroll back and catch up because we talked about all sorts of fun stuff today. But let me talk about this. So my Blackmagic camera is plugged into input 1 here, which is why you're seeing me here. This is set to input 1. This HDMI port from this ATEM is routed over into the Extreme, which is why you're seeing the multi-view. So I can switch it back to program, and now you're seeing the program, which means this ATEM Mini Pro is not encoding anything right now. So if I go to my, let me drop my stream key in before I share my screen. So if I go over to my ATEM Software Control Mini Pro ISO, and okay, stream key is in. So the, oops, right. It's the wrong camera. Well, I'll just do this live. The ATEM Software Control for Extreme, and I'll switch my super source box 1 to this camera so you can see me again. Okay, there we go. Still hear me? Yes, doing this without headphones. This is the one outputting to YouTube right now. And if I go back over to the other ATEM, this is the one on my desk. It's not outputting to YouTube right now. So what I'm going to do is go to, shoot, where's the button for that? Yes, okay. I'm going to go set my ATEM Mini ISO to stream to the secondary YouTube feed. And I'm doing that off screen because it shows the streaming key, unfortunately. And now what I can do is start streaming from the ATEM Mini Pro ISO on my desk to the backup URL. So again, let me show you my super source, which is my computer screen. This is from the Extreme. Obviously, the ISO can't do this. The Mini ISO can't do this. So there's nothing, however, in YouTube that shows me whether it's receiving a backup feed, right? It'll complain if the backup bitrate is very different, but it won't like confirm that it's going. But I can see that my ATEM Mini Pro is not complaining. It says it's on air, and that means I guess I just have to kind of trust it. So what that means is if I stop my Extreme, then it should fail over to the backup feed, which is my Mini. And what I'm going to do to show you that is, oh, let me make a little graphic to show you that. So where's Photoshop? I like doing it this way, where I can put a graphic over the video that is from my ATEM Mini that's streaming to the backup URL, so that when it says this is from the backup stream on the bottom, you will be able to know that it has failed over. So let's go make a 1920 by 1080. And I'm going to do a little banner at the bottom like that is going to be black and mostly translucent. Okay. And then we'll put some text over it that says, this is the backup encoder. Okay, make that bigger. Great. So here's my graphic. I'm going to export it to my media pool, going to the ISO backup encoder. 8 is empty, sure. Pre-multiply alpha so I get the transparency. And then in the backup encoder, I can do that and go to upstream key, no, downstream key, set it to the media player, don't mask it, do pre-multiply, and turn that on air. Okay, so if I switch back to this is what the ATEM is showing you. So this is the program feed of the ATEM Mini backup stream. What I'm going to do is switch the HDMI out to just the camera, taking off the overlay. So the overlay does not appear on the version from the Extreme, right? So the Extreme is getting the HDMI out from this device, which does not have the overlay because it's set to output 2. Right, output from the one on my table. If I show you multi-view, it shows you that, right? And if I show you program, you'll see the overlay. I'm gonna switch it to main. So now you are getting you're looking at the feed from the Extreme, and the feed, the program feed in the ISO is the one with the overlay on it, which is what's streaming to YouTube's backup. So now, if I go and cut, if I stop streaming from the Extreme, which I'm going to do by going into the software control, and I unfortunately can't show that to you without showing my stream key. So I am going to do this now. So hold on to your horses. Let me see if there's anything in the chat before we do this. Oh, yes. Okay, we're getting that error. We are getting the error from YouTube. Primary and backup streams have different video bit rates, which is true because in this view, I'm now streaming at like 3 megabits because it's mostly a still graphic. And in the ISO, it's streaming the full screen video. So it is sending different programs. And okay, so now I just realized I showed my stream key. Too bad. We're gonna go switch to that. And I am going to press, actually, why don't I just show you since I showed my stream key already. I'm going to delete this one after the show. Here, I'm going to press the off button. And as soon as I do that, it should take a second or so and fall back to the one that has the overlay. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. And now I don't really have a way to see if it's fallen over. Oh, I can watch YouTube. There we go. It worked. We're back. I don't know how much it skipped. I didn't have a clock running. That would have been the way to test that, is to put my countdown timer on the screen. But we are now on the backup URL and the backup server. So that worked. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a glitch, but it worked. And if I go back on air with my Extreme, if I go back on air with my Extreme, I don't think it's going to fail back to the primary. And that's been my experience before. So let's see what happens. I'm looking at the YouTube video preview, which is the only way I know what's actually live. And I don't see it failing back. I'll give it a couple more seconds. But it's only a couple of seconds latency. So still in the backup. I still see the backup. Yep. I still see the error message saying that it's got different bit rates. So in order for me to fail back to the primary, I have to stop the backup encoder. So I'm going to do that by pressing the button on the Pro ISO here. And here we go. I'm going to stop the backup. 3, 2, 1. And let's see how long it takes to fall back to the main feed. I see a glitch, and we're back. Okay, that wasn't too bad. And now I kind of wish I had done that with a timer running on the screen so you can actually see the clock. But I think I've done that one before anyway. But we confirmed again that it did not automatically come back to the primary stream. It did, however, just I had to stop the backup. And cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the desk and wrap this up. I hope I was in focus over there. I just realized I didn't actually focus my camera. What's interesting is if you were watching the stream and it was delayed, like if you were a little bit behind and not live, you probably didn't see any glitch at all. Because it was able to, like, it already had video content available and it didn't need to wait. Same would be true if there was if I was not in ultra low latency. I was set to ultra low because that's how I like to be real time in the chat. But if you had set it to normal latency, it would be like 20 seconds or so, and then you would get more time where it would be able to fail over without stuttering, without the viewers seeing a pause. And if you're looking at this in the replay, you are probably not going to see any gap at all because it just smashes all the video together at the end. So the it'll probably just be an immediate cut to probably something mid-sentence because I was talking while the transition was happening, so all of the words I was saying didn't get into the feed. But that's the idea. Yeah, YouTube failover is pretty useful for sure, and it looks like it worked pretty well. Focus was fine. Oh, good. Phew, thanks. Watching on Xbox, fallback was instant. Is this at the low latencies that affect the response time? This was set to ultra low, so we could experiment with the rest of the latencies, but I think we'll save that for another demo. Yes, the backup is now offline. If I did turn the backup stream back on, it wouldn't switch to it, obviously. It'll then, keep going as a backup. I would like to find a solution that works better than this, because my preferred way this would work would be that it would automatically come back to the primary stream when the primary feed is available again. Because what that would let me do is basically push a backup, like a we're offline graphic rather than like a video, like a we're offline graphic with music. I could push that from a cloud server to something so that if my power died or internet went out, then it would still have content because it's not even coming from my studio. And it wouldn't be the video feed, obviously, but as soon as my internet did come back online, it would automatically switch back. So that is, yeah, Roland, like you're saying, failover doesn't help unless you have two broadband ISPs. Right. So this was not a test of like doing it over two different network connections, which I absolutely could do because I have a cell phone, right? That would be a better test. I should have plugged my cell phone into that ATEM and have it streamed over LTE. Yeah, I think it's a safe feature not to go auto back to the primary because it could be unstable. I think that's the reason they do it, because what exactly does the primary feed is available mean? It might get a couple of packets through, but then actually still be unstable. So you would need some threshold, which it starts getting a little bit messy. I can see why they did it this way, but I would also like more visibility into it, or at least options. You could probably do it with the Nginx module. I started looking into it actually to do it that way. I don't think you can do it with just Nginx. I think you have to do it with something that can essentially act as a software switcher on the server. So there are programs for that. Quite a bit of work is definitely the correct assessment. The other there are other software cloud thingies that can do this. So I want to look into some of those because I think it would be a useful thing. Yeah, there are solutions for IRL streamers where if the bitrate is low or non-existent, be right back screen is displayed. Totally. I do think YouTube should have a setting just to choose whether to it would auto fall back after the stream is online for like, I don't know, 10 seconds or something. But who knows? Cool. Yeah, glad you got to see that. How can I set this up with two computers and one ATEM Mini? Could I use a webcam on a backup device? Yeah, so basically your backup, whatever you stream to the backup URL does not have to be the same thing that you are sending to the main URL. And the backup feed could be like a still graphic from another encoder. It could be a smartphone that you have sitting next to your main rig, streaming with some streaming app on your phone. It could be a second ATEM Mini. It could be a anything. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. And it's okay if the content you push to both primary and secondary is totally different. It's and there's different reasons why you might want to. Like, I was showing you a different video because I had that graphic on the bottom so you could tell it was on the backup. But I could have just as well pushed a still image with music or whatever it is. Seeing some notes in here about YouTube Player being a little glitchy. Small bit missing, 3 seconds each switch. The coming back was quicker. More time to the primary than from primary to secondary. It's interesting. have to hit live back to get the live stream. So yeah, probably what happens is the player in YouTube gets a little bit confused about the gap and the switchover, especially if the bitrate changed. Then it might send you back in time a little bit. So you may not be at the current live. So pressing that live button will skip ahead. Is there anything in the YouTube API to do this? That is an interesting thought. The YouTube streaming API is not great, I will say. It lets you like manage upcoming live streams and stuff because that's how all the like YOLObox and other integrations will create scheduled events. StreamYard does that too. But I don't, and I think there's a way to like the go live button. I think you can sort of press that from the API. However, I don't think there's anything in there that will let you like modify the video, if that makes sense. Like switch between, yeah. I'm just looking through really quick. The YouTube API is also not well documented. It's very frustrating. Okay. Very interested with this backup idea, particularly as we have location where there's no internet, all via 4G, so 2 links would be very useful. Totally. Yeah, 2 LTE links streaming the same content to both works fine. Or you can stream different video content. I did a test sending 2 encoders to 1 streaming key, so if one falls, second showing invite, or fails. Oh, same streaming key and same server. That doesn't confuse the crap out of it. I actually have never tried that. Streaming the same content to the same streaming URL, not the backup URL. Should I try that right now? I'm all set up for it. Why not? Try it. Okay. So let me go back to, I've got the same streaming key. So all I have to do is go back to the other ATEM and switch that over to stream to the primary URL instead of the secondary URL. That's what it is. So let me go back over there. And oops. There we go. That's what I meant to do. And what are we looking at? We're looking at, you're seeing the multi-view. So I'm going to switch over to input 1. This is the primary stream, primary encoder. And I'm going to go to the software control on the backup encoder, switch to the primary stream and stream. It's on air. It is not complaining. Interesting. And shall we say goodbye before you try this? Probably. Who knows what'll happen? What is the worst that can happen? We're about to find out. So I am streaming the same content to the same server, or the different videos to the same server, same streaming key. Let's hope that nobody else copied your key and started streaming. Yes, that is why you don't share your stream key. So if I stop my ISO, oh, what I should do is put my countdown timer up while we have this here. So let's switch over to, let's get the, oh, I don't have the hyperdeck routed to the other ATEM. Oh, I can do that. I have a fancy, I have routers all day long. I have SDI. Okay. Where's my countdown timer? Here's my countdown timer on the primary. I'm going to set this up to go to the other ATEM. Also, I'm going to take over my input 2. I'll take over my input 3. So input 3 is going to get my hyperdeck fill. Oh, you can't even see it. There. So the hyperdeck is routed into the ATEM Mini Pro now too. So on my ATEM Mini Pro, I will go switch. I will use the upstream key. This I can show you. No, I'm not going to show you the computer screen. That's too much. Okay. Luma key from the input 3, no mask, no pre-multiply. Okay, countdown timer is showing on the backup encoder. The countdown timer is also showing on the primary encoder. Let me go back to, was that 3? Yeah. So you are seeing the multi-view of the backup encoder, and it's in the program feed. You're also seeing the countdown timer overlaid on the primary encoder. So this time, when I go and let me switch over to showing you just the camera, clean feed on the primary. Now when the backup comes, we should see the countdown clock also. So I'm on the ISO, or I'm on the Extreme, and I'm going to stop the stream. Okay, here we go. 3, I'll stop it right at 8. So I'll hit off air right at 8 minutes. Here we go. I'll stop it right at 8. So I'll hit off air right at 8 minutes. Here we go. It's off air. How long is it going to take for YouTube to come back with the backup encoder? Wait, was it instant? Okay, interesting. Can I take it back over from the ISO? That's the next question. It jumped back 7 seconds. It was ahead. Interesting. Okay, so I'll skip to the, I'm going to push now to start the Extreme. I'll start at 7 minutes, 15 seconds, and we'll see what happens. Okay, ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stream. Okay, on air, what is happening on YouTube now? I'm looking at YouTube. I still see the backup stream. And I still see the backup stream. I don't see the primary one coming back. I also hear somebody's phone outside. So it's not taking over. Okay. I still see backup encoder on the screen, which means we are still looking at the backup encoder and it's not taken back the stream. So if I hit stop on the backup encoder, we'll see what it takes to fall back again. So it looks like the same problem. So I still have to stop the backup, which I guess is good. I guess it means that nobody can take over my stream. Here we go. And go. Okay. Which I guess is good. I guess it means that nobody can take over my stream. Here we go. And go. Okay. Stop the backup encoder. We're switching back over to the primary feed. And skip back 2 seconds again. Cool. Okay, there's some alarm clock going off here. I have no idea where it is. That is going to just... It's very confusing. Okay, not bad. Fun little experiment. Cool, that was useful. Let me do, while this is all set up, let me do one more test of streaming to the proper backup URL with the countdown timer running, since now the countdown timer is here. So, okay, I'm starting the stream to the backup stream. I'm going to go back to the main and stop that streaming at 5 minutes. I'm guessing we are not going to see the skip back in time. Ready? 3, 2, 1, cut. And we're failing over to the backup. And what is the delay here? Interesting that it is definitely a, oh, there was a skip while it had the video, the backup encoder text over the screen. Okay. So that is an interesting data point. Let me start the primary stream again, and then I will stop the backup encoder at 420. So in 3, 2, 1. Cut the backup stream at 420. And how long does it take for the primary to come back online? Here it comes. We lost some time there. Okay, cool. Fun. Not bad. Get rid of the countdown clock. So that was a fun little experiment. That'll be a fun thing to bookmark and put timestamps on. Good. Yeah, good test. So it's not consistent, is what I learned. It's not consistent, and but it is useful. It is usable. It'd be interesting to find a more solid, proper solution for this, I guess, in some sort of cloud-based solution that isn't just using YouTube. There's also, like I said, no visibility in the YouTube dashboard about this. Like the whole time, all I was seeing in YouTube was, oh, let me get my super source back. All I was seeing in YouTube really was just this. Stream is healthy, warnings about the bit rates, nothing showing up here about whether backup URLs are live or not. So, yep. Is it yesterday yet? As I didn't skip to live this time, the failover was seamless. Fascinating. Yep. Cool. My player is buggy, keep getting kicked off the live mode. Makes sense. Yep. This is funny, but here's the problem. If someone managed to hijack, you can't take it back over. Yes. So thank you, nobody, for hijacking my stream. Next time I'll remember to not show my stream key, and now I have to trash this one. Great. Thanks for the test. That was fun. We're going to wrap up there. Yeah, this might be better than the backup stream one because it did seem to work quicker when we were streaming to the same key or same URL. Great to test that live. Very fun. Any difference if you pull the Ethernet on the Extreme? I think that's how I tested it earlier, and I think it was about the same, actually. So, cool. All right. Oh, thanks for the super chat. Hasn't triggered the confetti yet. Oh, there it goes. Thank you for the super chat. That's a great way to end. Awesome. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show today, and I'll be back next week with more stuff, more questions, more demos, more. I don't know what'll happen. We'll see what happens. Always interesting things. Maybe I'll remember to bring my Sony RX02 next week, and we can take a look at that camera as well. So with that, thank you all for joining. I'm going to go figure out what that alarm clock is, and I will see you all next week.